What if the secret to healing, happiness, and success has been living right beside you on four legs? Today, Dr. Jeff Feinman reveals how our animals can teach us to reframe our mindset, unlock our potential, and find true harmony in life. If you're ready to discover the science and spirit behind living your best life, you won't want to miss this conversation.
What if I told you that healing starts from within and within a certain place? A lot of times we go treat symptoms. We might feel a pain in the shoulder or feel cramping in the belly. And we go to the doctor and the doctor say, well, what are the symptoms? And we give them the symptoms. And then they try to diagnose, but it's not until they really look within that they can see what the problem is. And the same with healing. Healing doesn't come from us attempting to diagnose symptoms, whether it's healing in our finances, healing in our energy levels, healing in relationships. Healing starts within a certain place within us, and it's in our subconscious mind, because that's the place that we plant the seeds that will later on blossom into the thing that we desire. And we use all of these catchphrases of manifestation and all of these things, but there is a distinct way that we can go on this neural path, a neural roadmap, so to say, to align ourselves with the future that we want, whether it's in business, finance, it doesn't matter. There was a childhood story that we used to read. I don't know if they still do these stories no more, but they made a lot of sense. It was about this little engine that could, and the little engine constantly rehearsed that he think he can, and eventually he did. Well, for us, there's two words, not I think, I can, but I am, because we are all becoming. And as we are becoming what it is that we look to be, we can't say, I want to be successful. I'm successful. I am successful. I am becoming more successful, because we can't take for granted the places that we are. And there's no better being in creation than animals for us to mimic the way that they live. My dogs wake up in the morning, they expect their food, they expect to go outside, they expect to be let to run, and they expect to walk, they expect pats on the head and gratification, and then they're thankful in response. And this is rehearsed. They don't wake up in the morning and say, oh, I'm having a bad day. I don't know what today's going to hold. I don't know if I'm going to eat. I don't know. They have these expectations, and that's what we're going to discuss today. How can we mirror what we see around us and apply it to our lives so that we can lower the monkey brain, which is the place of anxiety, and it's the same place of liberty and unlimited potential. I'm NaRon Tillman. This is Walk in Victory. And we sit you at the feet of the masters and have conversations to help you evolve your life. And today's master is Jeff. How are you doing, sir?
I am doing great. That was such a beautiful and perfect opening. So thank you. Thank you for everything.
Thank you for joining us. You have a unique gift. You've taken the work of those that went before us that did this work, and you've applied it in a certain specialized way that probably only a few can capture and synergize. If you don't mind telling our audience exactly what it is that you were able to see and how you've harmonized it and how you use it to help others today.
My goodness, that's a big question, and I think I'll start by going back to something you said about aligning with the flow of life is going to help us manifest lives that we desire and that our animals are living in a life that they love, a life of joy, a life of contentment, all the things that we want and that we strive for, but actually we've got within us. And it's really just a matter of reframing our mindset, and our animals can be, and nature can be an amazing, amazing portal for us into the presence of the moment that they live in, where they are not confined by their symptoms, as you said, or their diagnoses, or their life situations. They are happy with where they are at that moment, and they love the paths. They love to eat. They love to go out for their stiff walks. And we can join them and be part of that love and that union and that alignment with life that will bring us the success in economics, in family, in everything. Because that's the way that we have walked for thousands of years, and that can be seen as a kinship point of view. Kinship as in we are all we are all connected, whole living beings, and we can bring it back to what you said at the very beginning, and that is symptoms. Because when we feel symptoms, we see symptoms in our animals, that's when we can get disconnected a little bit, and that's where the strategies that you talk about are so important for us practicing. And I'm gonna shut up now and let you speak. Sorry.
No, because what you're saying is so true. And we don't look at creation. Uh, we think that we're above creation and not a part of creation, if that makes sense. And when you see yourself other than, then you can't find harmony. Like if you see yourself as dominant over someone else, then you can't really see a synergy in how you two can be reflective of one another. And I think that in mindful work and non-intention helps find where they may be disharmony. How, in your early work, we'll get to what you're doing now, but in your early work, how was that journey for you when you were able to look out over creation and see a mirror of you?
That's a great question that I was actually just thinking about yesterday, and actually I was also thinking about it this morning when Eckhart Tolle was talking about the most important thing that we can learn when we're young, and that is to recognize our emotions, to see where we are in the world, to be able to do what you described. And I'm going to be 100% honest with you, NaRon. I didn't do that when I was younger. I was in my 20s before I even realized that I had moods and emotions, and that these are things that affect my anxiety, my depression, and my disharmony was partially a result from not even starting to observe those things when I was young, and taking many decades of observation and open mind and practice to get me to the point where I am now. So, and you asked about early work. My early work was all in science, molecular biology, in laboratory, medical school, as a veterinarian, healing, as it were, as we're taught to heal. And unfortunately, that process is designed to disconnect us even more. So my work now is to try and mend that kinship disconnections, because we become disconnected from that kinship point of view.
Neuroscience has helped to really bridge a gap between spirituality and science as it relates to the human brain and human development. From your early work as a scientist working in the lab, not having the information, some of the information that we have now, and now having the information that we have, how are you able to marry the two and see the world through this lens? And do you think that it's been helpful, or do you feel that it's something that is hindering humanity?
For me, at least, it's been immensely helpful. I mean, I've got my own life challenges that have been going on since 1975 when I started manifesting a degenerative genetic disease that was actually supposed to, and I'm glad I didn't know this at the time, but it was supposed to put me in a wheelchair by the time I was 30. And, that was a couple of decades ago, and I just learned this actually a couple days ago, and I'm glad that I didn't know it, because my mindset at that time would have ended up me in a wheelchair at 25 or 30 years of age instead of living and having my best life. And my mission right now is that we can definitely help our animals have their best lives. And the way we can do that is by getting out of our heads and being more like them, more heart-centered, more aligned with spirit, with life, with things that really matter.
So what happens there in that connection where if the is more centered and grounded, how does it affect the animal and it relates to their well-being and health? And then I'm gonna ask you too, and as you being an animal that helps you to see that synergy.
So 2 questions there, and the first, I'd say that responding mindfully instead of reacting quickly to what we see in our animals is what is going to be the big domino as far as optimizing their health. So in other words, if we are present and we're able to apply that to situations where we may get anxious, where we may be worried about our beloved companion animals, that pause, that presence allows us to respond mindfully to a situation instead of reacting quickly by going to the vet or doing a drug or doing something that may be working against a life force. And as a scientist, what brought me to this place was really just observation. It was the observation of my patients over 40 years. It was being an open-minded scientist at my core and watching the science evolve, and as you described, the science and the spirituality are coming together in a way that enables us to optimize our lives, our health, our animals' lives, their health. And perhaps it's best embodied by the study of the science of the neuroimmune connectome. The neuroimmune connectome is basically the paradigm in medicine that connections in our brain are able to modify our immune systems, are able to modify everything in our lives, and we can apply that to our animals. And we won't have time today to go into the molecular details of how we can do that, but we can definitely do that. And I really would like to get just one major point across today, and that is that it's possible. Steve Jobs had it right. Think different. We need to think different. Thinking different in terms of lives of our animals, the lives that they have, are essential. And it may begin with are thinking different about our relationship with them, with our animals, and with the world. We are not their owners. We are not the owner of anything around us. We are in kinship with us. We are their guardians. We are living in reverence.
That whole mindset of not, we're not the owners is very crucial when we me coming up in Christian around the priesthood.
Sure, I'm mute. I hope you.
The pauses, but I was saying I started preaching under the Christian banner, and even though I believed in the Bible narrative of creation, I still saw myself not as a part of a harmony in harmonizing with creation. And it really wasn't until I started practicing yoga and meditation that I started to appreciate the fact that there is a synchronization between all things that we see and exist, and we're just the fabric of it. We're not above it. We're just a part of it. And that mindset, it took a real long time for me to draw that mindset, because when you think of yourself more highly, then you can't really see yourself as what you really are. And I think that there's a misnomer about being, growing up in the streets, a sucker, and being humble. We're not talking about seeing ourselves as part of creation, or that we won't be successful, or we need all these things to help us. No, that's a different type of mindset. But this mindset is a mind of internal awareness and internal peace. Now here's the question. That was a statement, but here's the question. In our education system, we don't teach people how to think. How do we, as parents or as business owners or as thought leaders, get people to understand, one, how to listen to their internal subconscious thoughts, two, how to transform their subconscious thoughts, and to practice thinking as a skill?
Well, now that's a question outside my area of expertise, but I do think it begins early on, and we can teach natural curiosity, because I think thinking is a manifestation of natural curiosity. And actually, now that I think about it, we're born with that natural curiosity. I don't think we have to teach it. I think what we have to focus on is stopping from forgetting about it. I was at a UU service yesterday where all the little kids are dancing through the aisle, back and forth on the aisles, and the grown-ups are clapping along with them, and you don't see many teenagers or grown-ups, expressing that kind of joy, that kind of love, and that's where I go back to our animals. They live in that zone of joy. They live in that zone of natural curiosity. I mean, I was in a training class I don't even like the word training class, more of a behavioral shaping class with my dog. And the teacher asked us what we liked the best about our animals. And I was thinking, and it's like, what I like the best is Maya goes out in the morning and she just walks around. She just takes in her environment. She just has that natural curiosity about how great life is. And I think that what we need to start instilling, which is starting to be instilled in some schools, is that ability to think by remaining naturally curious.
I think that you are the perfect person to ask that question, because you thought through this synergy between the way that we interact with our animals through our own thought process and the way that we predict, the way that, because these are predictive behaviors. If I wake up in the morning and I say, I'm tired, and I just woke up, oh my God, today's going to be a long day. I've just predicted my outcome for the day. So these are predictive behaviors, and you use the word think so much. I just was thinking about that yesterday. Just was thinking about that this morning. Because as a scientist, you can't just come up with a hypothesis. How do you verify? So that the audience can understand the rigor that it takes for you to come up and before you can even present your thought. And there's no getting away from it. Once you're trained in a certain way, that's the way you're going to process life. And I'm pretty sure when you're out to dinner, they be like, come on, man, just don't be the scientist today. So what is that process like?
Oh, it's a process, it's a journey, and it's a journey of discovery. And I don't know if you're okay with this or not, but I'm gonna show you. I don't know if we're recording the book that's coming out, The Path to Pet Wellness, which is the distillation of all that. It started out as a science book. It started out as a way of showing, look, the science exists right now. That shows us, gives us guardrails that we can apply to think different, but think in a way that's effective and safe and helps our animals. So, I don't even know where to start to answer your question because there are so many different ways to look at it, and I'm not sure how much time we've got left actually today.
But it is a process, right? And it's
a journey,
and it's something that you have to safeguard because you don't want to put out information that may be untrue because people respect your word.
And it is the individual definition of what's true and untrue. Because magic is untrue, right? Well, magic is science before we can explain why it's happening. Science is two things, reproducible and teachable. That is the definition of a science. And I arrived at this place, and the reason I brought up the science book was my observations over the years are that science is only part of the story, that we need to apply science to the broader context of life. And that's what the book is all about. The book is all about the merging of science and spirituality. Because that really, in my mind, in thousands of people's minds around the world, are the way of the future, is the way of the future.
Now, here we go. About 25 years ago, maybe 30, because I think it started probably, that this marriage was totally unheard of. You had the science group and you had the spiritual group. And now what I'm finding is that the spiritual group, instead of saying embracing, they're pushing back, and they're saying that the science group is trying to take over the spiritual communication. In some circles, not all, in some circles, but I think that the master scientists, because we start to use words like omniscience, the all scientist comes from being as higher than all of us. So I'm glad that we're living in this world where we see an advancement of this conversation, and we also find out the beauty of our bodies, and we're still discovering what is already there.
You've opened a can of worms, and I'm going to jump in. If you don't
I'm waiting
mind.
for you.
Because we have no clue.
Yeah.
No clue how it is that we're alive. We have no clue about the miracle of the trillions of processes that are going on in our bodies all the time that are governed by an unseen vital force. Vital force, universal force, consciousness, God, spirit, whatever you want to call it. We know it as scientists as cellular energy. So we know in the body that every cell in the body lives because of mitochondria. Mitochondria are little powerhouses that generate energy that allow the body to do its thing. Well, it just so happens that being in joy, being in love, being connected, being aligned, optimize mitochondrial function. Help our energy flow. And I'm sure you've talked about flow as a paradigm, the flow optimal performance paradigm. Well, when we're in a state of flow, that just means that our energy is flowing, that our hoses are clear, they're not kinked. We're like flowing, evenly flowing water. We're living in that joy. We're living in that zone of joy, of happiness, that we can easily learn strategies to be in with our animals every day.
Wow.
Easy, easy, easy. And if you live with the dog or cat, you're probably already doing it and don't know it.
Wow. Well, I have 3 dogs, so I see you picked up a book when I said something. You wanted to share something real quick, or you just was?
But that's my own book, The Path Pet Wellness, that's coming out February 10th. But the reason I picked it up was it originally started about a decade ago as a science book, saying, come on, guys, that's clear. The science is confirming all the stuff that you call woo-woo or pseudoscience. But my own journey, and especially, as one of my beloved companions was walking the end of his life, my journey with him during his end-of-life journey, and after that is what allowed the book to become the merging of science and spirituality, which is why I brought it up, as well as the fact that we're going to be starting a 6th series masterclass that dives into how we can do this using the book as a template, and that'll be for 2026.
Well, there you have it, everybody. I told you we sit you at the feet of the best. We sit you at the feet of the masters, and you've just had a masterclass in understanding on how you can better relate with your pets, but not just better relate with your pets, but you can look through the lens of how an animal views the world and help you be present. All of Jeff's information is in the description. Listen, he has a masterclass coming up in 2026, so we don't ask you for Cash Apps, Venmos, or any of those things. But what we do ask is that you go and support our guest by following them on their social media. If you're into animals or you know someone, by supporting their things that they have going on, and that you hit like, subscribe, and share, that somebody else can participate in this conversation that we had this morning, which was very enlightening and deep. Don't forget, don't walk with your head down. Don't walk making excuses. By the time you're listening to this, in the description, we have our 7-day I Am challenge. This challenge is to help you optimize your greater you. We're not trying to make you become anything else. We're trying to give you a guideline on how you can become the better version of yourself and connect more with your pets. So, Jeff is now part of the Walk in Victory family, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.